You still caught some. Nice, Peanut.
All right, so in this video, I'm gonna share with you how my process of how I chase after the herring and find them, or try to find them at least. And I do a lot of it actually online. I go to like this GIS site, the Pacific Herring Spawning Habitat. This is kind of a site where I guess the fisheries will kind of report where and historically where they've been spawning and how thick they are. And it uses a color code map here. Like here we are in Richardson Bay for Sausalito, and the red indicating the thicker spawns, and then the orange, and then the greens being more light. And this was in February 2020, so this past year, the before the pandemic. Um, the spawn came late, but it eventually arrived, and this is one of those fisheries where um, when you hear the spawn is on, you have to drop everything and get there. Uh, another site that I use is Google Map, right? So as soon as I kind of see where the suggested areas are, I could look on the Google Map as far as access point if I've never been there before. And this is again Google Maps off. I think the place is called Spinnaker's Restaurant. This breakwaters where we started. Um, and it was very crowded there when we got there, and we walked down south a little ways just to where the ferry building is right over here. And this is where we were doing really well because there weren't as many people there, um, and the fish were thick. I mean, you saw my daughter's throw; her cast went in wonky, and she still put out like a net full of herring. And you could also see here over the breakwater how much rocks are there, and people were losing nets and such, so you gotta kinda be careful with that. You know, I like smaller nets, because pretty much you threw the a larger net once or twice and your bucket was full. They were so thick there. And another spot that you can try out would be, for 2021, just last week when this video was, made. This past weekend, the spawning already happened out in South Toledo. I actually missed it because I was preoccupied. I wasn't doing my no, I wasn't being diligent about monitoring um, kind of the pairing reports, and so I actually missed that spawn. So hopefully, I'll catch this other one. Another place that I like to go and check out is right here in Tiburon, kind of place called Paradise Beach. There's a park there, Paradise Beach Park. There's a public pier out there where I went to. I hit it this past year, last year. Did did okay, and the year before, um, you know, went there and did really well there. It's right over here. You can see it's supposedly thick. It wasn't as thick this year, um, but this park here, you do have to pay to get in. So Paradise Beach Park in Tiburon. Yeah, so that's one of my favorite places just because it's close. Other than the fact that you have to pay to get in, there are park passes that you can get though. Another place that you might want to investigate is in Point Richmond, Ferry Point. So there's a fisherman pier out there, and this is another place where traditionally there has been really good spawns. Past last year, there was, this is one spot I would check almost, religiously going to work or coming back from work, and it never opened up. But it's a place that I actually enjoy going. And one thing that we do is we just go to these places whenever we have a chance. And this is my daughter here, and we just throw in a net and she just practices. We both practice, um, and there's absolutely no sign of herring here, but we'll still throw the net just in case they're there. Just to test out the water. Here's another day. Seas are very different. Again, just practice casting. So you want to get your cast down. So when the herons do come and you go out there and you're trying to remember how to throw this
Hello
net, it
from
gets
the
kind of
southern side.
frustrating. And one thing that we're doing is we're not only checking for fish, but we're trying to get some debris off the bottom, because in the debris it can tell a big story and tell you whether you're wasting your time or not. Because if you look closely at this piece of seaweed, examine it to see if there's eggs on it or not. Because if the eggs are there, that means that the herring already came in and spawned, and that might be done. That doesn't mean that you know, that doesn't mean that they're not going to come back, because there have been years when um, the spawn happened and it stopped, and then a day or two later they came back. But I believe that happened the year before this. So, but if the eggs are there, it's probably a good indicator of time to move on someplace and check someplace else out. Again, no herring here, but it's always good to practice your casting. Um, Especially, if you get to an area where there's like thick with people, or there's like objects in the water you have to avoid. You want to get a nice round, what they call it, a pancake round cast. Again, checking for eggs, making sure that they haven't already come. Right.
Okay.
Another site, and this is probably the number one place I go to find my resources or information, is the Lost Anchovy, and I'll put the link to the 2021 spawn site. And this, what people do, people like myself and others, will go check out the water and report whether there's evidence or spawn is happening. Again, when the word gets out, you just drop everything and go. Uh, I kind of read through this with a grain of salt. Some people will report that there's a big flock of birds someplace. Birds aren't always an indicator that the herring are in. It could be that's where they roost. That's where they're normally there all year long. And they just don't know it because they don't go there all the time. But birds are kind of a good sign. And once you get the word, like I was going back to Paradise this day, and as I drove in, I see several people, not a whole bunch, but a few handful of people casting out there because they had come in. And my daughter has been coming with me all the time to kind of test out the waters. And on this particular day, she didn't come with me. So she kind of missed out on this part of it. So they were there. They weren't as thick as they were in Sausalito, but they were there. It's still a lot of fun. Um, the limit, I guess, after right after this, the limit is just 2 buckets. No, what's equivalent to 2 buckets worth of herring, which is plenty of fish, and I think it's a good call. It does seem like the fishery is dwindling, but that's just only out of 2 years. Um, yeah. So right after this, I called my daughter and say, "Hey, they're here. Do you want to come down?" And so I was hoping that she would say no, but she said yes. So I kind of left with half a bucket and to go pick her up so she can cast, so she could throw the net. So again, there weren't that many people, but when we got back here a little bit later, there were a lot more people, and it wasn't as good fishing because it had slowed down. they probably started spawning the night before. I called my friends, and they were on their way from the city, and they got here just as it was ending. So if you did, once you hear that it's happening again, the key is you just have to drop everything, and go. Like I used to commute with my bucket and net in my car, so if hear about it, I could just drop everything and just go. Um, and that's kind of what you have to do if you really want to kind of guarantee yourself. And it's not even that's not a guarantee. Um, yeah, like Point Richmond, as far as I know, never spawned. And after the whole COVID thing, after March 13th, I kind of stopped paying attention, stopped going. So um, yeah, just always be ready. Practice. Keep your eyes out on those forums, and that you better your chances as far as getting them. Yeah, yeah, and this is a very fun and family activity. Both my kids like it. My son doesn't really throw as well as my daughter. My daughter actually throws better than I do. I think I mentioned that in the last video. Um, but so he likes to just help by making sure all the fish get put in the bucket and such, and pick up any ones that fall out. A lot of nice people out here, especially when it's not crowded. There's a lot of room. People are still getting tangled, but the attitude is much better than if it's just elbow to elbow and people aren't catching anything, or people only a few people are, and then it just gets just that one year which is really ugly. Again, what I do with the herring is probably the majority of it I use for bait, crab bait, and I want to try using it for fishing. I give a lot away to my family and neighbors and friends, uh, and they like to eat it. And they're very good tasting fish. It's a lot of work for such a small fish. I'm kind of lazy like that, but yeah, they're really good eating. I still have herring in my fridge or my freezer from this year, only because I haven't been able to go out as much crabbing this year as I've had in the past, um, which is which is okay because the whole 2020 and everything going down. Um, but yeah, I think I am going to run out soon, so I want to freshen up my uh, stockpile so I have them to go crabbing and to go fishing. And again, they're very good eating. Just a lot of work to prep them. So again, probably the key thing is to pay attention to the forums, um, like the last lost anchovy, and when you hear the herring are spawning, just drop everything, get there. No, don't think about it. Just go. So I think I don't really have much else to say. Again, go to the Lost Anchovies website. Use Google Earth and the herring spawn, kind of the density map to kind of give you an idea where to go. Practice. Go out and just practice, and be ready. What I'm going to do is, I don't really have much to say, and I'm just gonna let the video play for those people who want to just kind of watch somebody else fish. But my suggestion is that you stop watching this video and go to the Lost Anchovies website and kind of get more information there. I'll try to remember to put a link in the description, and I'll try to if I could figure out that's a nice bowl. Um, to put a link right here from the screen. So again, you could kind of stop watching the video. I'll let it run though for those people who have nothing else to do. And I'll make there'll be a link at the end to the other herring video on some tips and tricks that I didn't say here. Right. So good luck, you guys, and hopefully I'll see you out there pulling up net full of fish. Again, you should stop watching this video and just go and do some research. What? You're still watching? Stop and go out and fish.